Hello, welcome to Worthy Wednesday, y'all. It's a little late, 9:45 at my house. If you're on the East Coast, it's already after midnight there. But anyway, welcome to Worthy Wednesday. I hope you had a great day today. And I want to talk about something that I think has paralleled across the 5 years of Worthy Wednesday, and that is change. And tonight I thought it would be appropriate to talk about the impact that change has on your life if you choose to do it, and the impact it has when you choose not to do it. I think one of the first things you learn as you grow up is that change requires the person that is doing it to do something that they have not done, meaning that they have to step inside of a new realm or role in order to navigate this particular experience. Change requires an individual to recognize that the things that I had previously done, or the things that I had done prior to this, no longer fit this particular area in my life, and in order for me to go into something else, I need to change it. But in the aspect of miracles, Worthy Women, a miracle change recognizes the absolute incredible necessary element of my thinking that must be different in order for me to experience a miracle. Change, as we have often discussed, requires one to let go of, which is control, and some of us don't want to let go of control. Just raise my hand for that. And navigate how to become something new and something different. And I'm still reading this book, A Better Way to Think, by Norman H. Norman Wright, and he talks about specifically change, which I thought was unbelievable to me. And I literally said to myself when I read this chapter, I was like, is this my life or no? Like, when you look at change, you think that the only thing you have to do is something else. But change requires that you do something differently. Like, you change your clothes every day, but you don't change the fact that you wear clothes every day. So even in that small example, you have to understand that the type of change affects the type of result. So I have to wear my clothes every day, but I change them every day because we don't wear the same thing every day. We put on fresh clothes every day. Well, you should. Anyway, move on from that. But the type of change that would affect what I wore every day would be if I was for 10 years wearing baggy clothes and nothing that fit my shape or style, and then I decided that I wanted to improve how I looked and how I presented myself, and then I started wearing a wardrobe that was tailored, a wardrobe that had color, a wardrobe that gave me a little sass when I put it on. That change is not necessarily that I'm wearing clothes every day. It's the type of change that has affected many areas. It affects what I think. It affects what I feel. It affects people's perception. It affects the opportunities that I may receive, which in reality, you would think that all of those things that I'm discussing make sense for all of us, that we want to implement a type of change that creates opportunities, it creates new relationships, it creates the ability for us to be somewhere else and experience a new level of freedom or responsibility, if that's the case. But I want y'all to know that we don't really do that. We don't change for the type of experience that it will present. We refuse to change because I don't like what you told me. I don't like being accountable in the sense that I have to do something else in order to prove, and it's not even proving it to other people. I really hope we can learn that the process of change in relationship to miracles, when something is a miracle change, it totally obliterates the line of thought you had prior to that, and it is replaced with a new line of thought. Anyway, this is what he said that really made me think. He said, no one promised that it would be easy to change the way that you are or the way that you think. Whenever you say you can't do this, your words go from your mouth to your ears to your brain, where they stick. And eventually, those words, I can't do this or I can't do that, immobilize you. So the power of changing what you say, the power of changing what you think, frees you to become what you've said. But I think we have lived in such a way in our lives that we believe that if I say for 10 years I can't do something, that magically if I start saying I can do it in one day, I will undo all of the weight, the memories that I have formed, the schemas that I have formed in my long-term memory. And I'm now asking my brain to show me that I could actually change something and do something. Your brain is like, no, we don't have any reference for you believing in yourself. Imagine that, worthy women, that you are so negative in your thoughts and in your conversation, in the words that you say about your life, about yourself, about your situation, that when you call on your memory to bring something to the frontal lobe, it's like, I got nothing. How many of us in certain areas of our life, our memory is like, I got nothing for you on that, Karee, because every thought, every sequence, every word that you have ever spoken about that particular event in your life or those people or that relationship or that situation has been negative. Now, I am not certain why we don't understand that there is a very fine line. Certain things that happen can have negative consequences. That is true. But I don't have to assign negativity to that event specifically. I need to be able to change how I frame things, how I process things. Doesn't mean that I won't be sad or cry. Heck no. Because I mean, this is real life. Sometimes things are challenging and they are difficult, but I don't have to start thinking, nor more importantly, do I have to start speaking the things that I have experienced. If something is bad, it's okay. It's okay. If you stub your toe, that really hurts, right? It really hurts. But I don't have to say, well, my furniture is stupid and everything in my house is stupid. Everything that I'm experiencing is dumb. You guys, that's not true. I just stubbed my toe and it hurt. Okay. I need to change how I process things that have occurred in my life because life happens to everyone. But how do I get to the miracle change? This is really the things that I've been thinking about in my life. Like, there are certain things that we have not experienced because we don't believe that that stuff will happen. And the reason why we don't believe it's going to happen is because we don't think we have to change anything. Do you think that you have to change your speech? Yes. Do you think that you have to change your attitude? Yes. Do you think that you have to change your belief system? Yes. You guys, part of growing up is changing. My dad used to say, when you grow, you change. And I used to be like, first of all, Daddy, that is corny. But I now understand what he meant when he said that. When I'm 1, and then I'm 2, I don't do the things I did at 2 that I did at 1. I took all that information from 1 and I grew to 2. And now I'm taking that information and I'm exploring and doing new things. And I'm going to grow to 3. So I'm going to change. Every time I grow, I'm changing. I'm changing how I live. I'm changing how I think. I'm changing how I interact. I'm changing how I believe. I'm changing how I treat people, meaning that I am taking the responsibility on myself. I am not asking other people to become what I know I need to become. I'm not asking people to make an exception for me. I am literally standing in the place where I can say, Karee, you have to change now. Anyway, so I was thinking, while I was reading the book about change and how we do that, I said, I wonder what keeps people from changing. And then I laughed because I said, oh, I know. It's easy. Not changing is easy, you guys. Duh. We don't want to change because it requires us to do the work. And who in their right mind, no matter how old you are, wants to do the work that it takes to change? Let me raise my hand. Psych. Nobody. Because I have perfected doing things that I have done for so long. And I think when I am asked to change something, I'm like, what? Why? Why don't you like the way I'm doing this? Why don't you appreciate the way that I've handled this responsibility? And what I've learned is that we have seen change as negative. It's negative because you don't like me. But let me just help all of us tonight. You guys, change doesn't mean I don't like you. It means what you're doing isn't effective. And in order for that to become more effective, you need to do something else. I don't know why we think or we pretend that we don't understand that change can improve the process. Change can improve everything. Sometimes you change positions while you're sleeping and then you sleep better. Sometimes you change your exercise routine and then you see results return, right? But why is it that we think that change is always assigned to a negative connotation? Because it's easy to think that, oh my gosh, if I give up, 14 cookies a day or 24 cookies a day, then my life will cease to have meaning. No, you'll probably sleep better. You'll actually want to eat real food, and you probably won't have cavities when you go to the dentist. See, one change can implement a domino effect in your life, but why don't we want to do that? You guys, I'm telling you, it's because not changing is easier. I don't want to have a better attitude. I just want everyone to adjust to me, right? Do y'all do that? Like, it's like when you're a teacher, sometimes the kids have terrible attitudes, and when you first start teaching, you want to accommodate them, and then when you've taught longer than a year, you start thinking, I'm not adjusting to that. You're going to adjust to what the standard is in the classroom. And the standard is that we provide the ability for you to learn, and you in turn accept the ability to learn, and you are going to do that by governing and self-regulating who you need to be in order to learn effectively. And I think once kids get to high school, which is by far my favorite grade to teach, they have had at least 8 years of learning to self-regulate their behavior, their emotions, their response, all of those things, but they still have the ability to do something that is not conducive to them learning. So in order to facilitate that learning, I have to change how I approach them. Now, that doesn't mean that I just stomp on them and tell them, you're going to listen to what I say, even though I'm guilty of saying that sometimes. But what I've learned to do is model the change that I want to see and provide them the insight and the information to accept that information, create a new schema that's now in the frontal lobe, but that's on their way to long term. And so when that same behavior occurs again, they can pull to the frontal lobe. Okay, so the proper way to handle this is step 1, step 2, step 3, and change it. Why is it that we don't understand? We make changes all the time. Y'all, if you work in real life, you change a lot. And most of the time when we change at work, it's because we are forced to do it. We don't really get the option to decide if I want to change my behavior. You change your behavior or you suffer the consequences of that. Whether that's a write-up, whether that's termination, whatever it might be. If the job decides to change the schedule, you make the adjustment. You don't get to tell them, well, I'm not really interested in doing that. I mean, even though that's probably what we think, that's not realistic. So the question I have, even in relationship to miracles, is you're never going to see a miracle change if you don't change. Like, imagine receiving all of your bills paid and you don't even say thank you for that. Well, first, that'd be weird if you don't do that. And then secondly, people would think I never want to help them again because they didn't even acknowledge what I did for them. And what if the reason why you didn't acknowledge them is because you believed, well, if I have to say thank you, then I have to actually accept that they did something. And I actually have to acknowledge that I wasn't capable of doing that, or I didn't have the skill to do that. And it just becomes a cycle that no one thinks about, that change requires growth. The beauty of experiencing things in your life is recognizing I'm not like I used to be. Y'all, first of all, let's have a pause for that just right now. Let's just have a pause. That I'm not like I used to be. And I think we expect people to continue to be the same they were once they've experienced a miracle, but that's impossible. The miracle has grown you. It has changed you internally, externally, spiritually, mentally, emotionally. And if you do not begin to live in the way that the miracle has affected your life, you guys, what is actually the point of seeking or looking or expecting to receive something when you are not going to do anything that benefits not just you, but everybody that is in your sphere of influence? I wonder, as I read that chapter about changing the way that you think, I said, why don't we do this? Why don't we change ourselves? Like, please tell me why we don't want to do it. So the first thing I realized is that because not changing is easy. I mean, duh. But the second thing I realized, the reason why we don't change is because we're selfish. I mean, maybe you're not. Okay. And I know a lot of people say, oh no, I'm not selfish, Okay. But sometimes I'm just going to tell you the truth. Yeah, we are. We are selfish because I want to ensure that I am taking care of those that are entrusted to my care, taking care of those that are in my realm of influence. I want them taken care of. Yeah, I'm pretty selfish, meaning that I don't want to do anything that would jeopardize not just me, but all of those that I am connected to, because that would mean that I'm not thinking about them, and I really am. But in reality, being selfish means that I want what I want above what I think is required for me to grow and change, which is also crazy. Being selfish causes you to say, I don't need to change anything that I'm doing, how I speak, how I interact with people, my level of accountability, even if it's low. I'm telling you that at least I'm still doing those things. But in reality, I haven't changed at all, which means what's actually happening is not growth, it's stagnation. And I really understand, worthy women, that there are a lot of us that have lived periods of our lives in stagnation, thinking that we're actually growing and changing, but not willing to admit, oh my gosh, we are not willing to admit that I am stuck in this place because I don't want to do anything that makes me uncomfortable. I don't want to have to self-examine. I don't want to have to look at the man, the woman in the mirror and recognize I only have me on my mind. I'm selfish. And you know, like when you're growing up, you try to teach your children to share and not think that the world revolves around them. And when they get older, you have to teach them the world still doesn't revolve around you, right? But being selfish is innate in us. I want what I want when I want it. Like, just answer. Everyone pay attention to that. Everyone give me what I want. But that is not how change occurs. So I was thinking to myself, you know, well, if one reason that we don't change is because it's easy, and another reason why we don't change is that we're selfish. I'm like, well, how do we change? And then I said, oh, I know. Action. Action produces change. So a miracle change is meaning I need to act differently. I need to think differently. I need to be accountable differently. I need to step up every level of my life if I want to change. I cannot stay at home forever. I eventually need to move out, get a job, take care of myself, and have my own house, right? But if I don't act, then I stay in the same place, which causes me to be selfish, which causes me to think this is easy and I can stay here forever. But action requires that I get out of the stagnation, I get out of the lack of effort and start doing things that place me in a different time, in a different season, in a different life, so I'm able to grow up, right? Like I couldn't wait till I could drive. I couldn't wait till I was able to vote, even though, you know, I learned that my one little vote may or may not make a difference, but at least I'm able to do that. I couldn't wait until I was old enough to get a drink in real life, right? I couldn't wait for all of those things. And then after you do it, you're like, all right, what's the next thing? Well, you recognize that the next thing that you want to do is going to require that you mature a little bit, that you change your thoughts, that you identify the areas in your life that you need to mature in. Like, all of that stuff happens when you act. But if you stand still and do nothing and then be mad at everybody else, you guys, nothing is going to be different. So anyway, I'm learning that slowly but surely, that the main premise of Worthy Wednesday is to do the work. Y'all, we cannot get away from that. Ever. It will forever be the clarion call for your life as a worthy woman. I must do the work. I cannot say that I don't do something because it's easier to say I'm not going to do it than to do it. I cannot remain selfish in my ambition and in my goals, thinking that, well, as long as it doesn't affect me, it's fine. No, I have to act. I have to get out of the comfort zone of my own thoughts, or the thoughts that are negative, the belief system that is negative, and I have to change it. I need to replace all of those negative thoughts with thoughts that will create in me the change, so I can actually have agreement from my head and my mouth and my heart that we're all saying the same three things. Yes, I can do this. Is it challenging? Absolutely. Is it difficult? It may be, but I know I can do it. I'm smart, I'm strong, I'm called, I'm worth, I can do it. It might take me a little bit of time, but I can really do it. So I guess really, worthy women, like, I feel like every week I challenge us to do something, and it doesn't matter what it is, but there's one overarching theme in every week that I challenge us to do something, and that's action. And this week the action is change. What's one thing I can change? Holy crap, tomorrow, tonight, whenever I see this, what is one thing I can change? Because that one thing will be a catalyst to many other things, not just what I'm doing as action, but it'll cause me to examine why I'm being selfish. It'll cause me to examine why I've just remained because it's easy to remain. And I start making myself get out of that mindset, get out of that mentality, and be who I was born to be. And that, my friends, is miracle change. And I'm here for that. And I'm pretty sure that you are too. So don't stay in it because it's easy. Don't stay in it because you're selfish. But if you want to see miracle change, do the work. Get up and act. Do it. Tomorrow, do it. All right, y'all. Have a good week.